Welcome to another video where I'm using my Vinci artist colors watercolor palette put together by Denise to see if I can paint a sketch or paint something that I like. So I have this sketchbook. This is a Strathmore sketchbook. I bought it from Michael's, and I tried to do several sketches of things I like, things that interest me. And how this all started, I found a National Geographic from 2018 or 17 that had these beautiful pictures of families in Transylvania, and they had different activities, especially related to hay and all sorts of agricultural lifestyle. Anyway, they had beautiful photographs, and one of them was this particular one with the mom and her two children. And I don't have the photos on my phone, and then I'm using the phone to record this video, so I don't have the photograph ready. But long story short, I tried to sketch it, and I was not very happy with how this sketch turned out. So I decided to use my Crayola gold. It's just a metallic gold from a children's pencil set to highlight, to create some of the lines, just so that would keep my shapes, and then see if I can use some watercolor to here and there, see what I can salvage, or just finish this sketch, even if it's not gonna be one of my favorites. And that's my problem. I noticed in this sketch and with some of the paintings, I started with an idea in mind. The sketch doesn't turn out the way I like it, and then I give up. Sometimes even before I start to add any color to my drawing. As you can tell, I just go over some of the areas where I'm gonna add the color, and I can see the Crayola pencil, it's melting a little bit, giving me some yellow shade to my wash. And this is a very nice photograph. If you I'm gonna try to add in the description of the video the source of this photograph. The artist was, to me, he was very talented. He captured very pretty and beautiful images. But anyway, this sketch was very golden, very light. This is a window on this side of the room, and the whole room was bathed in light. And we had dark areas of shadow under the table, a little bit cast by this TV, and on this side by this lady's legs where the bed is. And I thought the colors from Denise's palette, from this gold ochre, all about to this raw sienna, these three golden colors would go perfectly to color my sketch. And then I'm trying to create a dark color for the shadow, maybe some indentrine blue and raw umber. We'll see what we're gonna get. So I'm gonna start with raw sienna deep, which is a PY 42, and I'm gonna use my Princeton number 6 Neptune. Even a larger brush I think would do. And I'm gonna color most of my drawing, leaving the white area like this window, part of their faces of this woman and the baby, and maybe a little bit in the reflection of the TV. I'm gonna leave those uncovered. So my biggest issue with sketching is that I give up. You start something and then halfway to the process things don't look the way you plan it or you want them to, and sometimes I think it's a good idea. It spares us the time that we invest in every painting we do, but sometimes I feel like we should continue. We should add color, and we should see what we can get if we can salvage something or if we're gonna make it worse, and just make it a learning experience and not necessarily a finished product. The main reason why this sketch failed, I feel like the proportions were wrong. The point of interest, I wanted to be more on this part of the picture and not so much the background, and it turned out that my characters were uneven. Everything is kind of spaced out wrong. But here it is, my first wash, this beautiful raw sienna deep. To me it looks almost like a subdued quinacridone gold. I quite like it. And I'm also gonna add a little bit in this area where the shadows are gonna be, and since this is gonna be the darker area, I'm just gonna start playing, adding my indentering blue and see what I come up with. So instead of getting a nice neutral, I get some shades of green, which I didn't quite care for. And probably I should use the violet to neutralize this raw sienna, because this is more towards yellow. So let me add some the Vinci violet. So this is a very strong violet. That probably has much higher tinting strength than the raw sienna. I'm gonna give it a try. I already kind of gave up on the idea that this is gonna be my favorite sketch. So when you lower your expectation, you're less likely to be disappointed in what the outcome is gonna be. So I added the raw sienna deep back in the mix, and I got kind of like a brownish color. Not quite what I was going for. So I'm gonna try something else. I wanna see what a little bit of the raw umber will do. And right now I feel like I have a lot of water on my paper, and this Strathmore paper is not the best when it comes to using a lot of water. However, I think for my first sketchbook, for something where you can play and just add color and lines without much expectation, it would do the trick. So this is the color I got, kind of a violety brown. It is, in my opinion, closer to mud than anything else. However, I'm gonna give it a try, let it dry, and see if I can salvage that. Another shadow was right here by the TV. I'm just gonna add this raw umber. There was a little bit of a shadow around the object, and maybe a little cast by this dresser. This is probably one of the most important things in watercolor, is the planning and the planning of your drawing, at least until you master some of the colors and some of the techniques. In order to get the result you like, I believe it's very important to try on a separate piece of paper or in your sketchbook, outline your steps, outline the colors, do a little bit more testing than I did, where I just grab my box and see what I can paint. Again, I have here an area that's in shadow, and this violet, I didn't like it at first, but now I think it's growing on me. I definitely like it better than the raw umber on this gold. This does give me the idea of the image that I had, kind of a little bit too muddy, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of violet here and there to give it a little bit more interest. Now the person in the figure has a very pale pink shirt, and I think I'm gonna use my red rose deep, but because I don't want it to be too bright against the more warm and soft colors, I think I'm gonna get a watered version. I'm gonna do a very pale version of that rosy pink. And then the little boy was all kind of bathed in light. And the same was with this bedding. Let me try and use a little bit of the gold ochre. I'm gonna color their hands, maybe their face. And here I try to use some water to wash any of the harsh lines. Yes, you can definitely tell I had no plan for my drawing, and my lack of experience, it's coming into play when you're dealing with a more complex sketch, and especially a sketch where the shapes were not very clear from the beginning. I'm gonna take a break, stop it right here, let this layer dry, and see if I can come up with something else. I'm not gonna spend too much time at this point on this sketch. I'm gonna probably just let it dry and add a few more shadows and move on. So my painting is almost dry. I'm just gonna add a little bit more shadow in this area here and probably on this side. I'm not gonna stress too much about it. As I said, I never had high hopes of how this painting is gonna turn out. I lost some of the shapes in it, and some of the shadows didn't turn as dark as I wanted from the first try, and I'm not one to add too many layers because I feel like I'm just making it worse. And this is why I wanted to make this video, to show how not every painting is gonna be a masterpiece. Especially if you are a beginner, it's very easy to get frustrated. It's very easy to give up on your work because you look at the beautiful YouTube videos and you see something that you think, oh, maybe I can do, or I want to try, and then you end up with something that looks kind of like my sketch here. As I said, I'm not gonna worry too much about these shadows. I wanted to have more like a violet-y shadow, but for some reason I can't seem to get a strong enough violet for this part. I should try maybe a different combination, maybe ultramarine blue with some red, with some burnt sienna. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Might add a few details, and this should be a good learning piece. I do like the combination of the violet and the brown, and I can see some of that burnt umber granulation coming through. But overall, you can see the many flaws that are so common with watercolor. Like I have this areas where I use too much water, and you get like a very hard edge, and then in the middle of your shape, the paint is much lighter than the edge. You can always wash out the hard edge, but I feel like that's not the most successful thing. Anyway, come back to see what I paint next. Hopefully it's gonna be a masterpiece. If not, we're gonna learn some more. Bye.